Where do I start? Listen, fellas, hear me out. I'd rather share spoilers than not, just for the sake of giving my full opinion on this movie. But if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then I'll just say this. This film is, number one, a roller coaster. Not that there's ups and downs, I mean in the Scorsesean sense of the word. It's entertainment more than art, which is fitting for Marvel, clearly. And number two, it feels like a comic book. There's few films that feel like actual comic books in my opinion. Infinity War is the best example. This feels like a comic book. In comic books, any character can randomly pop in, and the universe feels full of them. When it's a standalone film, it feels less like a comic book. Basically, in this movie, there's a lot of cameos, which are fun. Kinda dumb, but fun. So for my quick spoiler-free review, I'd say it's a fun watch. It's fun, dumb, fairly corny, obviously nothing to take seriously. And the theater was packed, too, which is nice to see. To summarize it, because I saw the low score it received, the movie is like an epic movie. You know the ones from the 2000s, epic movie, scary movie, Spartan movie, or Meet the Spartans? Deadpool's fourth wall breaks, observations on Marvel's movie tropes, and just how meta the movie is, makes it feel somewhat like an epic movie. It's better than an epic movie in every sense, although maybe the stupider nature of epic movies make them better in that sense, anyway. It's a fun watch. Also, don't bring your kids. I saw some kids in the theater. Why? Okay, so onto the spoilers. The biggest grievance I've had with movies recently, like these big blockbusters, is that they insist upon themselves. Okay, no, that they use a lot of 80s pop rock music. Like something is gonna happen, a nice or sometimes not so nice action sequence, and that's the cue for the most generic, heard 1,000 times on the radio piece of 80s pop or rock. Argyle, the Mario Bros movie last year, the Guardians of the Galaxy, both featuring the same song. For a second there I was half expecting to hear No Sleep Till Brooklyn in this movie, but instead we got Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Granted, that's a 90s song, but overplayed as hell, as well as NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, and then Madonna's Like a Prayer. And there was this, I think, AC/DC song when Logan and Deadpool are fighting in the void. But it sounded almost like a Ford commercial, so that was probably not the right song choice. But then again, these big studios insist on it. Anyway. The story is this neo-multiverse TVA post-Loki. Make a nod at anything and we'll make a spin-off type plot that is getting very tiring. Just a very cookie-cutter by-the-book character tries to redeem himself. The villain is one-dimensional and just trying to be a villain. The whole multiverse is at stake, but you know it's gonna be fine, so there's no real stakes. This movie doesn't take any chances with anything. It's funny because even though it's an R-rated film, it feels kind of tame. There's countless sex jokes and they are kind of funny. For some reason, the funniest one for me was him getting suited up. But yeah, there's a lot of jokes. Some don't quite stick the landing, but overall they really help the bland story go down. Also, I thought it was weird. At the start, it seems like only Deadpool and a few of his close friends are the quippy ones and the funny ones. But then later on, it's like all the characters have a coat of silliness on them, but there's a few that don't, so they seem almost out of place. It's weird. Photography, fight scenes, and CGI, let's talk about that. The photography was heavily criticized online, and yeah, it kinda sucks. The desert looks like it had very little color grading, but I'll stop myself there. Who cares? This movie ultimately looks good enough. Good enough, and that's all that matters. As far as the fight scenes, they look mostly ripped out of Matthew Vaughn's school of fight scenes made for wearing 3D glasses. Kind of fun, not anything that'll blow your mind. Although I will say that the Honda Odyssey fight scene was pretty creative. It felt cool, but the New York City studio set with the Deadpool variants and the face-off and the Ant-Man layer, those felt kinda sucky. Fight sequences are tricky and sometimes it's easier to just slap on a recognizable 80s song and end the whole thing with a nice slow-mo shot. CGI was passable, although the scenes where the villain sticks her hand into the TVA guy's head, those felt kinda fake, but overall not bad. It's like the photography, as long as it's good enough, fine by me. Yeah, honestly, that's all I have to say about this movie. There's cameos, there's fun sequences, there's fun to kinda generic fight sequences, but most of all there's jokes and funny moments. So yeah, I'm sold. I'm switching to Mint Mobile.